Hi darlings, I'm Amithia, your curator of deliciously dark pages. And I am here today with a little bit of a different video. I am here to chat you through the up-and-coming vampire romances I will be indulging in because I am finally ready to get back to exploring the gothic genre, and I am so excited. I have been dying, excuse the pun. You know what? Never mind, I love them. I have been dying to dive into this genre for so long, and you may have watched the previous video where I chatted through We Did Nothing Wrong, You Did Nothing Wrong by CJ Drews. I'll insert it somewhere, which really made me fall back in love with the gothic genre and highlighting things and loving things. And so I'm ready to throw myself back into the gothic genre just in time for summer. I think it's my way of bringing back balance to the year. You know, enjoy the sunshine outside, enjoy the darkness inside. It's how we roll. So without further ado, I'm going to explore the up-and-coming vampire books in my library because I noticed that my actual physical vampire collection is quite tiny. So what I'm going to do in this video is chat you through the shrine I have created to vampiric literature. And then if you make it through to the end of this video, I will chat you through very quickly the books currently in my vampire collection, which is just a few. I'll just chat you through what I have and what they mean to me. And then see if you have any recs along the way. And as we go, if you've read anything, pop your thoughts below. I would love to know where to start with these because I'm just so excited for all of them, quite frankly. But before we go any further, just tell me what you love if you love it too. Let's go. But I'm going to start with, you'll know if you've seen anything on Instagram, Immortal Dark by Tigest, Girma. I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. This will come as no surprise to anybody who's been following me on Instagram. Oh, before I dive deep though, I need to remember to explain plots before we get too far deep. So we have Kidden and Yos. Kidden is a lost heiress who has also lost her sister and is on a mission to find her and becomes embroiled in a university low-key run by vampires and is lost amidst secrets and unravelings and possibly her own unraveling sanity because she gave up a lot to find her sister and is becoming more and more morose and melancholy and lost to self-destruction as she goes, and she refuses to be kind to a world that's only been cruel to her. And so we're kind of thrust into a world of secrets and lies and manipulation and stories where all the protagonists have 1,000 depths and everybody's story is tied together with 1,000 deceits, 1,000 loyalties, and everything has actually been a chain reaction set across hundreds and hundreds of years. Everything is done with some intention, some of which we are not clued in upon. So this book, it's gorgeous and beautiful and so intentional and so well thought out, and it redefines what I thought loyalty to even be. So if you have ever fallen in love with stories where characters fall for the flaws of each other first and are drawn to the shadows of each other first, this is the place to start. It really pulls on those gothic themes of isolation and destruction and the things we will do to find home and what we are willing to sacrifice and what we value and what we will do to remain ourselves and who even that is, right? And this is all set amidst a budding companionship between Yos and Kidden, and the fact that these two are such flawed characters, like more flawed than even Heathcliff and Kathy from Wuthering Heights, if that's where you started, or more flawed than Dorian even from Dorian Gray, which is where I started with gothic romance. Like at this point I could write a dissertation on this book, but I will try not to go too deep right now. But if you are a fan of university settings, this does it so well. And the way that to just invert your expectations with every single character. You think you can predict it. You won't. You think characters are safe. They are not. And the way that this plot pulls together so many themes, but so many plots and subplots, and you think you have a grip on what the hell is going on, and it turns out puppet masters were pulling the strings in ways you could never even have imagined because we just don't have the information because so much of it was before our time. But nothing in this comes across as preachy because there's such a thread of interconnectedness in a way that is just not present in Western media. I'm going to put it plain. Like, and it's something that as a pagan, I really appreciate being seen, especially in Gothic literature, this idea that interconnectedness is central to existence. It's so clear in the way this is written, in the way that everybody's stories intertwine, in the way that decisions echo across decades and hundreds of years. And the, I guess, legacy of those decisions are living, and the consequences just echo and ripple and live, right? And anyway, so if you want a modern Gothic vampiric romance based on, I believe, Ethiopian vampiric folklore, Immortal Dark. It's a trilogy. I believe book 1 and 2 are out right now. I'm waiting for book 2 to get to my home before I finish it. I think I have the last few chapters to go. I've been annotating this to shit and having the best time. Like, I have gasped, I have cried, I have laughed, all of the reactions. I've been reading this. When I picked this up, I've been reading it non-stop, to the point where something happened with the tower. If you know, you know. I was reading this at work. I threw the book, I cried, I literally choked up and started crying. And my whole work team know I'm a reader, so they were not surprised, but they did check on me. They were like, Amithia, are you okay? And I was like, I couldn't speak. So, and the way these characters develop, I can't even. Tigest, wow. And Tigest also released a short video explaining why she wrote the world the way she did, and she puts it so eloquently, and so I will link that in the description below. It's also linked in an Instagram post on my account, so I'll link that somewhere as well. But she says it best herself, and I really do encourage you to check out her author interviews because they're beautiful, and I cannot wait to dive deeper into this world. But it's funny because when I picked up this book, because of how beautifully it's written, how thoughtfully it's written, how evocative and deep and Gothic, like how quintessentially Gothic it is, I thought this was an old book. I thought this book had been around for years and years and years. And let me just fact check for a second. This book was released in 2025. 2025, I thought this book was decades old because it has that sense of timelessness to it, in that it is so well done. I honestly think this is one of the best vampire books of our generation. Of this generation. So I could write honestly a dissertation on this at this point, and I don't regret a single thing. I cannot wait to just read this over and over. I'm so relieved to learn this is a trilogy, and I can't wait to dive deeper. So Tigest, thank you so much for reigniting my adoration, complete adoration for the vampire genre, the Gothic genre. I cannot wait to continue being an annotating, analyzing mess. And I can't wait to just get my throat ripped out every time you write a sentence. So thank you. But with that, I've been reminded of my complete adoration. We're going to go with perhaps minor obsession with vampire mythos, and I'm so excited to dive deep. So with that, we'll go to the rest of the video. But it all started for me with Immortal Dark this year, so thank you to Jess. And if you ever want to come on my channel and do an author interview, you are more than welcome. If the YouTube algorithm, beautiful people at home want to make that happen, you feel free. Thank you so much in advance. Anyway, with that, let's move on because I'm also so excited. You may have noticed on Instagram with beautiful photos to get to Lucy Undying. The glare is happening, but hopefully you can see a little bit. Lucy Undying by Kirsten White. Now, this is a Dracula's Bride retelling. There are a few in this list, but this particularly follows Lucy, one of the original victims of Dracula. And I believe this is mostly a kind of finding yourself story with a touch of revenge. And I believe it's sapphic as well, a sapphic kind of finding yourself romance between the vampiric Lucy and someone else. And it's kind of Lucy reclaiming her story from the throes of vampires and escaping Dracula's thrall from when that was done. And all I've managed to read so far is the first kind of 2 chapters. And you're kind of getting the impression that Dracula is this imposing figure who is essentially a serial killer who is simply a murderer, you know, like no glamorization in that second chapter. And I really appreciate it because in the same way that the newest Nosferatu movie, which is one of my favorite movies of all time, because it finally showed Dracula as he is, which is a disgusting monster who takes and ... It showed him as the disgusting creature that he is, who takes and kills and so on and so forth. I can't go into detail here because it will get flagged and taken down and so on and so forth. But like, I'm getting the same vibe for the Dracula depiction in Lucy Undying from just chapter 2. And so I'm so excited. And also for the feminine rage that I feel like will be here if Lucy gets her revenge, or if there's like the sapphic reclaiming of like female spaces, taking up space in the world kind of vibe, reclaiming that space from the Dracula mythos. Like, I'm here for it. So I'm just so excited to meet Lucy as who she is rather than coming out from under the shadow of Dracula. And I have no idea really where the story goes from there, but I'm just so excited to find out. And I think especially in this day and age, like, any story that teaches women to take up space is beyond valuable, never mind in the gothic genre, which often deals with the products of patriarchy. So I'm so excited. I'm so excited. And especially, I enjoy stories so much that add to the mythos of the Dracula world, the vampire world, that like broaden it and like keep the story going or change it or add to it or make it modern or keep it alive, right? So, so excited to get to Lucy Undying. And as you can tell by my homemade bookmark of purple sparkly glittery gorgeousness, we have to see if you can get the light sparkliness there. But we have already started this journey and I'm so excited for it. So that will likely be the next vampiric read I get to. Okay. Keeping to the sapphic theme, we also have Hungerstone by Kat Dunn. Now, for me, is a Carmilla reclaiming. It's actually a Carmilla retelling, a sapphic Carmilla retelling, or we know it's a theme. Because for me, I really enjoyed Carmilla. I enjoyed reading it. I enjoyed the story. I absolutely adored it, but I cannot forgive the last few chapters of Carmilla. The mansplaining. Throughout, it was this beautiful, beautiful exploration of female relationships, of like how female relationships can be obsessive and consuming and devoted and doting and all of these beautiful things, and just utterly consuming and mysterious and alluring and all of these like vampiric things that are timeless, right? And we also have both protagonists in Carmilla making all of these decisions and navigating the perils of their relationship and also trying to stay alive in their own ways, you know what I mean? And being like these formidable creatures, both of them in their own right, in their for their time frame, right? And then in the last few chapters, we just have mansplaining, and I've never forgiven it for it ever. So I'm really excited to get to Hungerstone's retelling of Carmilla as a sapphic reclaiming. Now let me just check the blurb for a second. So we have Carmilla, we have Lenore, and the idea that Carmilla is bringing some kind of terrible sickness to Lenore's village. And it's set against the violent wilderness of the Peak District, which is one of my favorite settings because it's kind of somewhat local to me, and I kind of grew up in kind of forests and things. So any kind of setting like that is so nostalgic to me. I love running away to the woods so much. And again, something that will hopefully expand the mythos a little bit deeper. And also, if something sapphic takes over a heteronormative monogamous marriage, then like I'm all for it. You know, let's get something more erotic happening. So I'm here for it. And so I'm hoping to erase the last few chapters of Carmilla from my personal mind, replace it with Hungerstone. And I also love exploring themes of desire through captivation by someone, through being mesmerized, right? And I feel like sapphic narratives do mesmerize the best because there's a devotion, there's a sacredness, there's a seeing the entirety of someone beyond objectification, which I think some heteronormative texts just can't get past, no matter how hard they try. So I really appreciate the way that some queer and some sapphic books can just skip that and get straight to seeing the whole person, and so can just like really delve into the devotion and the obsession just real fast and real deep. And I'm so excited to see that especially explored through the vampiric lens, which just goes straight to intensity, straight to timelessness, straight to need and compulsion, and exploring all of those dark themes on top of like the sometimes obsessive relationship that female relationships can become because of the way we can relate to each other, that it can be intense and that it can be wanting to know absolutely everything about each other, that it can be very emotionally connected very quickly because we're just emotionally intelligent creatures, right? And so it kind of just delves into the emotional intelligence and intellectual intelligence and like the way that women often can connect very quickly, very personally, and amplifies it with that vampiric intensity. And so I'm just so curious to see how Hungerstone will approach the relationship dynamic coupled with the vampiric side of things and the intensity of that and so on and so forth. So I'm just, I'm so excited. I think it's going to be a fun, wild time. And similarly to that vein, we're going to change the channel in a second, don't worry. But similarly to that vein, but slightly different, we have The Brides. The Brides by Charlotte Cross. Now, The Brides is one I'm excited about for a slightly different reason, because The Brides follows the brides of Dracula before they were brides. It follows not 3, but 4 brides of Dracula. Yes, and the one who got away. So it follows 4 women who escaped to Transylvania to attempt to heal one of the women at some form of retreat, okay? And we're following the women entering into some kind of insanity. We're following their relationship closely because they all dote on each other for different reasons and have different relationships with each other and different levels of closeness with each other. We're told their story through doctors' letters and psychiatry letters and newsletters and lots of different sources, so it's very interesting. And then there's the one bride who gets away and escapes Dracula's clutches. And so we kind of follow their relationship, their closeness, their connection to each other, their dependency on each other when obviously they all travel to Transylvania and then they're each other's only resource, right? And then how they get enthralled into Dracula's clutches and 3 of them get embroiled and one of them escapes. And so I'm so curious to see this descent and then one escape and all of those beautiful dynamics, and also against that backdrop of Transylvania and the remoteness of that, and also if we get haunting forests and all of the beauty of that, and again female dynamics, and just again I think the potential for this, and also the unreliable narrator of all those different sources and the layers of information and potentially the slow reveal. I think The Brides just has so much potential. And so again, I am so freaking excited for this. So freaking excited. I think my approach to this might just be one vampiric book a month. And I can't tell you how much it feels so true to my core of who I am to just be indulging this and to be allowing myself the joy of diving deep into the gothic realm of expression. Because I enjoy the intensity so much. I think life is meant to be lived, and I think human expression is so deep, and it is so profound, and it is that deep. Like, life has always been that deep to me, and I think if it's not, then are we even awake? So I really appreciate, literature that shows it and gives space for it and is questioning, gives us that space to be like, do I want this? How do I cultivate this? If not, what do we not? Or the social commentary of that, and like allowing us to take that bird's eye view and so on and so forth. And then, on the other hand, though, some stories are just fun. And one of those stories for me will hopefully be The Fox and the Devil by Kirsten White. Firstly, hopefully you can see past the glare. This is such a beautiful hardback edition, which was a gift from a friend. And I'm just so lucky, so lucky my friends are aware of how much I adore storytelling, how much I adore stories and art and visual beauty. Like, we all know, hopefully, that beauty equates to safety within human psyche so often, and it's so true with the stories we surround ourselves with as well, right? They're our companions, they're our friends, and they're signifiers to our psyche as to the world we're trying to cultivate, right? They can be inspirers of bravery, and they can be comforts for futures we want to make, or they can be holders of parts of our story, right? So anyway, point to say, have some beauty around you if you have the space to cultivate it or make it, right? Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that The Fox and the Devil will be my version of a sweet, maybe a simple fun read, a more playful kind of read, because this is a sort of a Van Helsing retelling, but make it sapphic in the sense that we have Van Helsing's has been murdered, and the blurb alludes to the murderer is a vampire, and Van Helsing's daughter is a scientist / vampire hunter and vows to take down the vampire who murdered her father. Now, so she assembles a ragtag team to accomplish this mission. However, as they embroider themselves in this mission and get further on this process, she begins receiving letters from the vampire, obsessive, alluring letters from the vampire over time that she keeps from the rest of her team. And so begins perhaps mutual devotion and perhaps mutual obsession. And so the question for me remains as I read the blurb, is this a survival tactic from the vampire? Is this delusion from the vampire slayer of just trying to make her father's death something worth it, having a meaningful relationship from it? Is this mutually assured destruction? Are they both just wanting an out for some reason that we don't know yet? Or is this actually some kind of a happy ending? Who knows? And if this does happen, how are the team going to be okay with this? So I have so many questions, and I hope it's going to be a good time. I hope it's going to be a more lighthearted time, even though we do still have all those beautiful gothic themes of obsession and vengeance and murderers and revenge and mad scientists and, you know, vampires. So it's gonna be a fun time. But I do love a good heist. I do love a good puzzle to solve. I do love a ragtag team. So for me, in this specific selection, the Fox and the Devil will be a beautiful, fun addition when I'm ready for it. Okay. Speaking of revenge though, oh, I'm so excited for this. In fact, let me grab the book. So you may note from previous videos, the Mindfuck series by S.T. Abbey is one of my favorite series of all times. If you ever want revenge, if you are ever in a fuck the patriarchy kind of mood, read the Mindfuck series by S.T. Abbey, okay? Lana Myers, oh, I'll do anything she asks me. Anything at all, okay? Because she is the serial killer of all serial killers, who is out for revenge upon the many men who have wronged her, and I will fund her till the end of time. So if you ever desire such a thing, read the Mindfuck series. But since I read the Mindfuck series, I have been craving something of a similar vein, because fuck the patriarchy, right? Fuck it dead and burn it in fire. And so I have been craving something vampiric of the same vein. Okay. And so I came across The Filthy Duet by M.L. Burns. Now, I'm a little late to this game. It has been making the rounds in the dark romance community. And once I learned it has a revenge plot, I was like, well, why didn't you say so? Okay, so let me just remind myself of what it's about and bring you along for the ride. So, All Your Lies by M.L. Burns follows Seraphine Nora and Carhise Monroe. Please feel free to correct me in the comments if I'm saying that wrong. Seraphina is a succubus, I believe, consumed by revenge. I'm loving the phrase. The thing that got me about this is the phrase, I'm coming for you all, my sweets. I have to steal that phrase. And Carhise is a demon hunter, I believe, who becomes obsessed with Seraphine. And that's all we get on the blurb. That's all we get. And then we have All Your Deadly Truths, which I'm not going to read because it may have spoilers. And I believe they both have different powers, and they both kind of become embroiled in this big plot that takes them over. I'm not sure. But when I heard other people speaking about this, the way people spoke about it reminded me of Lana Meyer's thirst for revenge. And that is honestly all I needed. So when I eventually get to this, I have a feeling it's going to be a good time. I only hope that I enjoy M.L. Burns' writing style. And honestly, I'm loving this cover. I'll show you a little more. I'm loving this cover. It's grown on me a lot. It reminds me of old school vampiric covers. I'll see if I can insert something. But it reminds me. And then the second cover is just red and black, so you can't really go wrong. Shadowy red and black. I adore them both. They're going to be beautiful on my shelves if I adore them. And oh, my other favorite thing, which I was so lovely and surprised about, this is going to be my first read on black pages and white text, which I'm delighted by because I am a dyslexic queen. And so this is going to be so easy to read. And oh my goddess, there's illustrations in the books. Oh, this is going to be a delightful time. This is going to be a delightful time. There's illustrations in both books. Oh, there's illustrations in both books. Oh my goddess. Oh, I'm so excited. When I'm going to let myself get to this, I don't know, because it's a duet. Because it's a duet, when am I going to have the time? But then again, I'm always reading. My next video is going to be a summary of all the books I'm currently in the middle of. And you'll see what I mean. Anyway, speaking of vampires and demons and kind of otherworldly kind of books though, okay. I was lucky enough to come across a short fantasy book that's vampiric. Now, I'm not really a fantasy girly because fantasy books often deal in war, and we don't really do that well in human worlds. So why the heck would I read about that in a fantasy world? Okay. However, okay, I came across a vampiric fantasy book called Six Scorched Roses by Carissa Broadbent. And firstly, let me show you the cover. And honestly, enough said. It's all of my favorite things. It's my favorite shade of red. There's a vial. There's a rose. I think it's on fire. Enough said. The quote on the back says, I'll take 1 night, 1 hour, 1 minute, which screams obsession to me. Again, I'm in, okay. The blurb itself, though, spoke about a heroine who offers a vampire, I believe, 6 roses to heal her village of a plight, a sickness that's taking over her village. And I know vampires, they're very manipulative. They will just keep asking and bargaining and so on and so forth. And also, what's this plight that's affecting your whole village? And why are you specifically the one willing to sacrifice to a vampire of all creatures? You know? And also, this book is just too beautiful to resist. So I figured, why not try it? Why not try it? Because honestly, and cover your ears if you're very delicate with books, if I don't like this book, I will just gut it and repurpose the book as a notebook for myself. Because I am also a bookbinder. So it's really no loss to me. No loss at all. So, speaking of vampires and demons and other worlds, okay, and heists in a sense. So, the last book in my little vampiric shrine is one that's a bit of a risk because I've not been able to read the blurb once because the text is really tiny. Okay. But it's called The Catcher of Souls by Ruxandra Tarka. And it's set in Whitechapel, London in Jack the Ripper times, okay? And I believe there's some kind of curse. There's an assassin with a penchant for poisons and a gifted painter with a curse and a ripper, which to me speaks Dorian Gray vibes with an assassin and Jack the Ripper, okay? And I have a feeling Jack the Ripper, based on the blurb, is targeting supernaturals, so vampires, demons, witches, those kind of things, which kind of sounds political, you know, just to my fledgling ears. And I believe there's a time crunch of some kind on this curse, which I'm curious about. And I believe somebody's painting is degrading, which again speaks of Dorian Gray. So again, I'm automatically in because A Picture of Dorian Gray is one of my favorite books of all time. So this kind of pulls together a few things. And Jack the Ripper was one of the first crimes of which I was obsessed with as a youngster because it's a puzzle that was never solved. And so my little ADHD brain couldn't put it down. Couldn't put it down. Okay. So and also Whitechapel has beautiful architecture. So what's a goddess to do but explore? And what's the word? I'm quite motivated to find worlds where vampires, demons, different supernaturals exist, and I enjoy the writing style because often in fantasy settings, I will try them because I really enjoy paranormal settings. However, I find they're often not well written. They're often not well written. Often the writing styles are just not good. They're often too simple. They're often not well developed characters. They're often not well written. There's no depth to them, or there's not description in the right places, or there's too much description of things that don't really matter, like they're showing and not telling. Nope. They're telling and not showing. And I'm really generalizing, I'm aware of this, but so I would really love to find writing styles I adore with paranormal worlds, with gothic paranormal worlds, I think. So, for example, later in the year, I will be going to Fairydale to explore a gothic fantasy setting because I'm hoping that will have a kind of paranormal vibe with gothic writing. So this is the year I finally get back to gothic writing, and I'm so excited. But I did promise you all that I would show you the vampiric books that are currently in my possession. So hopefully this will be a bit of a speed run. Bear with. Okay, are we ready for the speed run? Which is in no particular order, really. Okay, so one of the first vampiric books. Well, I started with vampiric books when I was quite young. It was all I read when I was a teen and youngster. But the ones that I actually kept in my library since I was 13 when I first read it, and it stayed in my library, the same copy for years and years and years, is Nightworld, Volume 2 by L.G. Shen. If you don't know, Nightworld is an anthology series that follows kind of forbidden romance couples, soulmates, where one person is supernatural, one person is human, and the rule is humans are not allowed to know about the Nightworld. If they do, they must be killed. The Nightworld must be kept secret above all else. But these couples are soulmates. They cannot survive without each other. And so the idea is that these couples come together and find a way to change the law by the end of the series. However, I don't think this series was ever completed. But Volume 2 was my favourite, and in The Chosen we have Rochelle, who is the best vampire hunter of her time, and we have Quinn, who is the vampire who loathes humans the most, I think, one of the most, out of all of the vampires, and how the hell do they come together and find common ground? Read it and find out, but that is one of the first stories that really touched me, and I found that I related to Rochelle quite a lot as a kid, so I really appreciated feeling seen. As an adult, a really sweet summer read to me, I really enjoyed, quite feminist, was The Lost Girls. And again, I don't know if the glare is doing this any justice, but it's really cute, this cover. I love it to pieces. The Lost Girls by Sonia Hartle. Not sure about that one. Let's see if I can find a name. Holly! So, there's a guy called Elton, and he's been changing teens into vampires for many years and getting away with it and just kind of dumping them whenever he gets bored. And Holly is having none of it. Absolutely none of it. And so she decides to get revenge, and she decides to take as many of Elton and his friends down as she can along the way. And it ends up being a feminist ragtag team along the way, and a bit of a sexual awakening, a coming of age as we go. And the ending is it has its penultimate scene, but it's not fully resolved at the end, which I think is quite true to life of a coming of age story. It feels authentic, but also sweet. You know, in that like sweet uncertainty of just the age this is set in. So I really, really loved it, especially with the camaraderie and the slow trust that develops, and the fact that the trust still feels fragile in the way that young trust does. And so I think the Lost Girls does what it does really, really well. And it's also an easy read. It's such an easy read. I read it in like 2 hours. And it's also really beautiful and pink and beautiful. So it just stays in my bookshelves, and I'm just really happy it exists. So there's that one. Then we have A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. This is, I couldn't call it even a Dracula retelling because that does it a disservice. This follows, which one? A Dracula's Bride. Okay. This follows Constanta, who is Dracula's first bride. And this is her writing letters to Dracula, who is not seen in this entire thing, as he should not be, as part of the mythos. Anyway, this follows her letters to him as she explores their life together, as she processes their relationship, as she explores her relationship with the other brides, as she explores polyamory, as she explores what it has been like to live through eras in his thrall, as she explores what it's been like to build personhood within a toxic connection to this mythic vampire. And it's heart-wrenching and somehow so guttural and so real. And the way S.T. Gibson destroys you with a line, for example, the first line in this blurb is, "This is my last love letter to you," though some would call it a confession. Done, done, done. I could not put this down. I think about this on a bi-weekly basis. I cannot wait to reread this again. I almost wish to annotate it, but I think every syllable in this story is precious, so I can't actually bear to bring ink to paper. I can't bear it, so I'm so excited to read it again. Now, the last duet in my little vampiric collection is by Karina Halle. It's a guilty pleasure because myself and Karina don't really get on writing style-wise, but it has too many ingredients that I adore. So, let me tell you about Blood Orange and Black Rose by Karina Halle. Okay, firstly, our main character Dahlia is a witch. Secondly, she's posing as a music student. Thirdly, this is set in Venice, my favorite city so far of all frickin' time. Fourthly, Val 2, Dracula, music teacher. Yeah, so teacher-student relationship initially. Yeah, they explore BDSM together. That's her in. She, however, is an assassin sent to take him down. You are told right at the start and in the back this is a reincarnation, fated mate's love story. Do with that information what you will. How it plays out is so dramatic, so action-packed, so beautiful, quite atmospheric, incredibly emotive, very character-driven. Oh my goddess, thank you, Karina. I will say one complaint is that in the penultimate fantasy scenes, it's very rushed. I don't think Karina is a very accomplished fantasy writer. However, if you take this with a pinch of salt in terms of writing style, it's such a good time. If you look at all the elements and have a great time with them, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. Yay. It deals with the themes of like new vampires versus old vampires and reckoning with immortality and time and like the way you view life and the way you view personhood and like the impact on mental health and things like that. It touches on those kind of things. So there is depth, there is like character growth, there is like who the hell am I? There's also Dahlia reckoning with who the hell am I as a person as she connects with her past lives and things as well. So there is literally everybody reckoning with personhood throughout this. It's a solid theme throughout. And also, obviously, all those timeless vampiric notes and themes and beautiful, beautiful scenes throughout, as well as the romance. It's a beautiful duet. Just take it for what it is, you know? So that is my humble vampire collection so far, which I hope to add to very, very soon. And if any of these books are not for me, I cannot wait to give them to people who adore them. So that is my vampire collection at the moment. I cannot wait to go on this adventure. I'm so happy to finally be indulging, to finally let my gothic heart flutter and gasp and stutter and beat as long and deep and harsh as it needs. So excited to read. So excited to read. And so grateful that you're here on this journey with me. So thank you. Thank you so much. And sweet dreams.